Come on, Tim, get the show going. Stop working it up. What is microgravity? Well, we know the specific term micro is small and macro being large. I apologize there. I had to detune this here. We don't need all that high volume when we've got me on high enough. Okay, friends. Please keep in mind your speech is monitored by your favorite government officials. Please watch what you say. It's not my rules, they're theirs. So, Unimundi had a problem with the quantum of conscience today, and I'm not. I like both channels. Matt comes up with a lot of interesting ways to look at the world and questions that he would like to have answered. If any of you have the answers for him, check them out. So let's get started with Unimundi here and see exactly what caused all this commotion today in the gravity community. Yes, because NASA's lies make our lives a bit gravitatious. Yes, at WTIM Detroit, we make up our own words. Yes, gravitatious. Gravitatious. Yes, yes, yes. We must be gravitatious towards each other. All right, folks. Here we go. Let me shut up. Let me shut up.
Hello, Mandela Effect family. Another very important Mandela Effect. I will ask you a simple question. How much of gravity do you have in the International Space Station? How much? Zero. Zero gravity? No. Has changed. Now we have 90% of gravity, just 10% of difference from Earth, okay? And now we have gravity in the space. That it's what claims NASA, okay? This is from nasa.gov, okay? Where they say that now there is gravity in space, okay? That what makes the Earth to orbit in the Milky Way, it's what keeps the sun in place in the Milky Way, okay? And not only that, the International Space Station, na altitude of 250 miles, where you have 90% of what is on the planet's surface. In short, you have 90% of the gravity in an International Space Station.
Us, welcome. If it's your first time, hey, thanks for stopping and hit that subscribe button and that bell in the corner, whether it works or not. That way you're notified when I decide to come live at night, all night, on the east side of the Rocky Mountains. And if you're from Area 51 or even Channel 51, please hit me up. I would like to hear from you. Yes, I would. Okay, so I understand where Unimundi's coming from, because growing up and in the movies, you know how the movies, well, NASA gives the movies all their ideas, right? So I can understand that, because our entire lives they talk about zero gravity, zero gravity. So I totally get that. I totally get that. Now let's go over to quantum of conscience, and I can't play Matt's material. I think he likes to stay rather private anyway. He likes a small community and just work out the discussions in his own chat. But I don't want to cause any problems between either him or Unimundi. I just thought this was an interesting thing, because I had always thought it was zero gravity. Now they're saying gravity is there's 90%. What we experience here, there's only 10% less gravity in space, basically, is what they're getting at. So if I'm 100 pounds on Earth, I would be 90 pounds in space. But it already raises questions for me right there alone. Now I would like to play a rather small clip, Matt, and not to steal your materials, but I thought it was rather interesting here at the 2-minute mark, where you simply explain what you're trying to lay out, and your questions being that it's not a Mandela effect, but it's a NASA effect, basically. Yeah, a NASA effect. See, speakers on? Yes, yes. Let me get rid of me. Take a listen here.
Purpose is to take all that they've told us about what is happening, say on the ISS, and to see if their own explanation to what they've told us for years is happening makes any sense. Okay, I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. I know all the different possibilities of what is or what is not going on. That's not the point. They tell you one thing, and then they're going to tell us something else here, and is it consistent with what they've told us? That's the point here. No less, no more. What is
So precisely, no less, no more. What is the truth? Do we ever get the truth from NASA? What's the shape of your planet? Does water fall off a ball? When you spin something like a merry-go-round and you throw a water hose in the center, not obviously, you have to hold the hose over the merry-go-round, but if you was to pour that hose into the aforementioned merry-go-round, how would that water react while that merry-go-round was spinning, while, say, two people were shuffling that thing around in a circle? Would that water stay in the middle and nice and level, or would it shoot off the edge and get your ankles wet? I think it would get your ankles wet. But it's a simple experiment you could try at your local park. Take a 5-gallon bucket of water out there, put it in the center of your merry-go-round, and spin it, and see how long that bucket stays there level. Very good. Let's take a look here. Let's see exactly what NASA says about gravity. Yes. What does NASA teach the children about gravity? We have to find NASA. Where did my NASA go? Oh, that's another topic. Yes, it is. Forgive me, folks. I got a lot of tabs here. I guess I have to get better at organizing them. I have it open. That's NASA right there. Scientific American. Oh, that's stacking liquids. Come on, baby. Let's go here. Is that a NASA logo? I should put my glasses on, or you're in for some trouble if I don't. NASA. There we go. What is microgravity? Question mark. Yes. Yes, yes. What is gravity? Does gravity really exist? Is it what they've told you? Or does it change from generation to generation? Like the leaves on a tree. Let's look here. NASA at nasa.gov for your enjoyment. This article is part of the NASA Knows grades 5 to 8 series. That means they're teaching 5th to 8th graders this current gravity, microgravity, the opposite of macrogravity, which would be great gravity. This would be less great gravity. Is the condition in which people or objects appear to be weightless. That would mean zero gravity. The effects of microgravity can be seen when astronauts and objects float in space, and microgravity can be experienced in other ways as well. A micro means very small, in quotes. So microgravity refers to the condition where gravity seems to be very small. In microgravity, astronauts can float in their spacecraft. Isn't it NASA's spacecraft? Or outside on a spacewalk. Heavy objects move around easily. Okay, we have to stop right there. So 100 pounds at 90% gravity would be 90 pounds. A 500-pound object at 90% would be, what, 400 pounds? Right? Maybe not 400. Okay, it's still heavy. All right? 90% of gravity is still heavy. Okay, let's move on. For example, astronauts can move equipment weighing hundreds of pounds with their fingertips. Okay, it's still 400 pounds. If it was 500 pounds and it's 90% less, say it's 400 pounds. That's still heavy, even in space. Your fingertips aren't moving 400 pounds, right? Okay. If you disagree, let me know. Microgravity is sometimes called zero gravity, but this is misleading. Yes, it is, NASA. I would call that a lie. To tell the truth would be more stateful. And up and down means different things in space. And the truth and fiction or nonfiction are different for NASA as well. Not a problem here. Not at all. Look at her. She's just Superwoman now. It's only 400 pounds. She can move it with her fingertips. It's only 90% of Earth's gravity. Yes. She's only got, there's only 10% less gravity up there, but she's like become awoke. She can do all these great abilities now. We just need her to change her eyes to black, you know, so she can see in the dark. Is there gravity in space? Question mark. Gravity causes objects, every object, to pull every other object toward it. Yes, because your computer has gravity and it will attract the mouse. In fact, a small amount of gravity can be found everywhere in space. Yes, even in the space between your ears. Gravity is what holds the moon in orbit around the Earth. Okay, is the moon even real? And has it always been there? Question mark. That's from Tim Hu. Gravity causes Earth to orbit the sun. Okay, that's only if it's a heliocentric model. And we know that the universe is electric, so it kind of throws the heliocentrism out, and we have to look at possibly other causes that we see the sun move around the Earth. Perhaps there's another explanation. Gravity causes Earth to orbit the sun, period. By NASA. It keeps the sun in place in the Milky Way because you can't start your day without a Milky Way, a galaxy. And gravity, however, does become weaker with distance, like age. It is possible for a spacecraft to go far enough from Earth, even though it never has, that a person inside will feel very little gravity. So, but this is not why things float on a spacecraft in orbit. No, it's not. That's what NASA says. This is not why things float in space. The International Space Station orbits Earth at an altitude between 200 and 250 miles because it can't make up its mind. At that altitude, Earth's gravity is about 10% less of what it is on planet Earth's surface. In other words, if a person who weighed 100 pounds on Earth's surface could climb a ladder all the way to the space station, or just take the space elevator that Elon Musk is going to build, or, jump in the car, that person would weigh 90 pounds at the top of the ladder. Yes, and that 1 pound bag of nails would weigh a little less. Come on, booger. Oh. Why do objects float in orbit? Question mark. If 90% of Earth's gravity reaches the space station, then why do astronauts float there? Here's the answer. Because they are in free fall. Yes, folks, they are falling. They are constantly falling, and they don't even give them parachutes. Yes, they are always falling. It's the never-ending fall. It must be the bottomless pit. Yes, we're in constant free fall. So that would mean the Earth, as it goes around the sun, as well as also constantly in free fall. Where is the bottom of this space realm? Is there a floor in space? How can something fall if there is no floor? This is Tim Who. I proclaim density, because the density is what keeps you from putting your hand through the desk. Yes, because your hand is more dense than the molecules in the wood, so it can't transfer through that energy field. No, folks, it cannot. But like a boat, you can float. Yes, float, float. And a vacuum gravity, back to NASA, and the vacuum gravity causes all objects to free fall at the same rate. The mass of the object does not matter. Nope, the mass of the object does not matter. If a person drops a hammer on his toe and a feather, air will make the feather fall more slowly. But if there were no air, just vacuum, I guess, because they left it at that. But if there were no air, they would fall at the same acceleration. Some amusement parks have free fall rides. Demon drop, that's what they're talking about, in which a cabin is dropped along a tall tower. If a person let go of an object at the beginning of the fall of the person and the object, the person and the object would fall at the same acceleration. Because of that, the object would appear to float in front of the person. That is what happens in a spacecraft. Yes, we float inside a spacecraft that's floating, inside an Earthcraft that's floating. And hey, they're all falling because they're only 10% of gravity. Well, 10% less gravity, 90% gravity. But if that's just being measured from Earth, what's the percentage on the sun? What's the percentage on the... See, it's density. Density. Because common sense doesn't have a bunch of mathematical equations. God makes sense. He doesn't make it confusing. If a person let go of an object, we did that. I'm confusing. Since they are falling together, the crew and the objects appear to float when compared with the spacecraft. Period. Thank you, NASA. How can a spacecraft fall around Earth? Question mark. What does it mean to fall around Earth? Question mark. Yes, how exactly do you fall round? Fall round. That's in October. Earth's gravity pulls objects downward toward the surface. And gravity pulls on the space station too. It should be as well. Period. As a result, it is constantly constantly falling, falling, falling toward Earth's surface, period. It also is moving at a very, very fast speed at 17,500 miles per hour. At that speed, period. At that speed, one would think your head would be stuck to the back of the space station. It moves at a speed that matches the way Earth's surface curves. If a person throws a baseball, gravity will cause it to curve down, period. Or lack of motion. It used to fall of its built up momentum. Yes. Yes. And so it no longer had enough momentum to keep it above the density, to keep it flying through the density of the air. And so, bloop, it hit the ground. It will hit the ground. And orbiting spacecrafts move. An orbiting spacecraft moves at the right speed, just the right speed, 17,500 miles per hour, because we calculated it. The spacecraft keeps falling toward the ground, but never hits it. Okay, let's back up. An orbiting spacecraft moves at the right speed, so the curve of its fall matches the curve of the Earth. So they're going fast enough so that as they're falling, they get just around the curve so they never hit the Earth. So picture holding a ball and you gotta just keep speeding it. So basically, if an ant was on that ball, if he could go just fast enough, he could run straight off the edge of that ball. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. As a result, they fall around the planet. The moon stays in orbit around the Earth for this same reason, because this is such crap. The moon is also falling around Earth. This is what, and they get a lot of money to come up with stuff to indoctrinate your children with the fiction. Why does NASA study microgravity? Question mark. Because it has to have science to teach you, so they can continue to get their checks to make NASA movies. NASA studies microgravity to learn what happens to people and equipment in space, period. Microgravity affects the human body in several ways. For example, muscles and bones can become weaker without gravity, making them work as hard. Period. For example, let's read that again. For example, muscles and bones can become weaker without gravity, making them work as hard. Astronauts who live on the space station spend months in microgravity, 10% less than Earth. Astronauts who travel to Mars, when? Also would spend months in microgravity traveling to and from the red planet of frequency. Frequency. NASA must learn about the effects of microgravity to keep astronauts safe and healthy, because they care, period. In addition, many things seem to act differently in microgravity, period. Fire burns differently. Without the fire doesn't burn at all. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Not in real. Not in a real vacuum. Without the pull of gravity, flames are more round. Crystals grow better. Without gravity, where'd that come from? Without gravity, their shapes are more perfect. And NASA performs science experiments in microgravity. These experiments help NASA learn things like how to make tang. That would be hard, or perhaps impossible to learn on Earth. Right. Period. Right. Isn't most of their science lab on Earth? Yeah. Are we sure there's even people up there? It's not just a drone flying around. Oh, look. Space station. Oh, look. Space station. Right. They've had some secret Air Force mini space shuttle up there with some high definition cameras going around the Earth for 2 years straight. Y'all, I'm saying they did the same thing with the space station. Yes, I am. I'm calling them liars. I sure am. I'm calling that a lie, especially with all the hairspray. Yep. Words to know. Free fall is the condition of moving freely in an environment in which gravity and nothing else is causing acceleration. A vacuum is the absence of all matter, including fire and air. Mass, the measurement of the amount of a matter in an object. The amount of matter in an object. That would be density. Yes. NASA microgravity for educators. Oh, we have to teach. Let's see what they're teaching educators, huh? Let's take a look at that. What are we teaching educators? Free ball game, huh? This is going to teach us about gravity. Look at this, guys. We're going to learn about gravity. Free fall ball. Yes. Shooting hoops on the Earth and shooting them in space require different techniques. Check out free ball and see if you have the skills to play anywhere. Let's shoot some hoops. Yeah, see? You're all categorized. They got a category for each one of you. Yes, they do. Oh, it's not enabled. That's alright. I'm not much for games. Microgravity resources. What kind of shit are they teaching? Oh, pardon me. What better way to engage your students than using toys to teach the laws of science? Science, yes. Alchemy. Students play the roles of engineers and scientists as they examine the characteristics of toys. In these toys and games in the classroom, we would like to indoctrinate your children in the results with the behavior of the same toys in space. Astronauts tested the physics of many different toys in space, and the International Toys in Space project is the result of those investigations. It's a project to project illusions. Toys in space. Yes, you heard it here first. Toys in space. They made it before you. On April 12th, 1985, Space Shuttle Discovery carried the first 11 toys into orbit on Space Shuttle mission STS-51D. The next set of toys flew on Space Shuttle mission STS-54 in January of 1993. Just short of 10 years. Yes. The crew, 9/11. Oh, look at that. 9/11. Right? 85, 95. Oh, yeah. The month. Oh, it's 9/11. How about that? The crew took some of the same toys from STS-51D back into orbit along with 29 more. In May 1996, the STS-77 mission crew took 10 of the STS-54 toys that had not been tested back into orbit. In 2002, the Expedition 5 crew tested 16 international toys and sports activities on the International ISS space station, where there was more room to perform the experiments than in the shuttle or their minds. For all our missions, crew members carried along the questions of curious children, educators, and parents who had suggested toy experiments and predictable possible results. A few toys and a few hours of the crew's free time have brought the experience of free fall and an understanding of gravity's pull to all students. Yes, of all ages, including your parents, the international and educators. The International Toys in Space Science and on the station payload was conceived It was conceived. It was born. It was conceived as an experience or an experiment like us, in which the International Space Station crew members and the student viewers would be co-investigators. Astronauts tested 16 toys to learn how the laws of physics would affect the behaviors, not effect, the behaviors of the toys. Students begin the experiment by investigating how the toys function on Earth. Then they watch the videos to see how the toys behaved in space. Yes, because we all know videos cannot be manipulated. Nope, especially at NASA. They wouldn't do that. NASA has assembled a set of educational resources about the toys for teachers in their use in the classroom of indoctrination. Yes, they're going to indoctrinate, like vaccinate, indoctrinate. I told you I'd make up a lot of my own words. A set of videos was created for teachers to use with the activity kit. The clip shows the astronauts testing the 16 toys on the space station that are featured in the International Toys in Space Video Resource Guide for your approval. Expedition 5 Science Officer Peggy Whitson narrates the videos. Microgravity, macrogravity, macro. Let's see what we got here. This is I don't even have a link. International Toys in Space videos. Yeah. Boy. Toys in Space Buzz Lightyear game activity and videos. I knew he was going to be in there somewhere. Hey, Buzz. That's right, because we had Buzz Aldrin. Yes. Let's take a look at this. Isn't this just interesting, folks? So interesting. The things they try to teach us. We're just too simple to figure them out. Too simple. Yep, it's a NASA video. This is a NASA video. Yes, it is. NASA video. It's an educational video. We're an educational site. That should work. Let's give her a little squeaky voice. Oh, come on now. Let's give her a squeaky voice. Let's try that. Okay.
Investigators, it's
Mission Control, this is the International Space Station. We're detecting several objects with us here in Earth orbit. Wait, they're coming into view now. It's a yo-yo and a top. Mission Control, they're toys.
Roger that, Space Station. Not to worry. We've sent you a few important items. They are...
International Toys in Space. Here's your host, NASA astronaut Leland Melvin.
Hi, I'm Leland Melvin, NASA astronaut. Welcome to International Toys in Space. In the past, you may have seen other NASA programs that highlighted toy experiments conducted on board the space shuttle. This time, we're going totally international, both with the toys that travel into space and with the space station they're going to. The toys have been collected from around the world, with over 40 toys being selected as candidates. In the end, less than half that number were considered good enough to make it through the selection process.
What's that duck doing on stage? Sorry, rubber duck. Better luck next.
You are the investigators. The Expedition 5 crew has videotaped the toys around for scientists to analyze. Technology, physics, and other scientists the whole time you're on board the station. But since the station has fallen too, things appear to float weightless. Scientists take advantage of the weightless effects of microgravity to study biology, technology, physics on a swing, just at the instant you start to come back down. Now imagine space scientists describe the situation as microgravity. Think of the feeling you have on a swing is in a state of free fall around the Earth. Space. The space station and all the objects inside it is in a state of free fall around the Earth because of the lack of gravity in space. The space station and all the objects inside it is in a state of free fall because of the lack of gravity in space. The space station and all the objects inside it is in a state of free fall because of the lack of gravity in space. The space station and all the objects inside it is in a state of free fall because of the lack of gravity in space. The space station and all the objects inside it is in a state of free fall around the Earth. Space scientists describe the situation as microgravity. Think of the feeling you have on a swing just at the instant you start to come back down. Now imagine that falling sensation the whole time you're on board the station. But since the station is falling too, things appear to float weightless. Scientists take advantage of the weightless effects of microgravity to study falling too, things appear to float weightless. Scientists take advantage of falling too, things appear to float weightless. Scientists take advantage of the weightless falling too, things appear to float weightless. Scientists take advantage of the weightless effects of microgravity to study biology, technology, physics, and other scientific disciplines. Microgravity is also the condition in which we conduct our toy experiments. When crews conduct science experiments on the station, the data is sent down to the ground for scientists to analyze. We call these scientists investigators. And that's where you come in. For international toys in space, and that's where you come in. Call these scientists investigators. And that's where you come in. And that's where you come in. And that's where you come in.
Yes, folks, we've been schnookered. We've been schnookered. You and I, yes. That's where we come in. Yes, it is. That's the problem. That's the confusion. Do you see the confusion now? So much confusion. No wonder Unimundi and quantum conscience had issues. I completely understand. Because NASA, never a straight answer, as you all know, never has any truths, only indoctrinations. And depending on what stature of society you're in, whether you're an educator, which would be above an average person, or a student, which would be below the average person, you have different levels of available knowledge from your family of NASA investigators. Yes, and then when they bring it back down here, you do the investigating yourself, trying to figure out what lie is a lie and what lie is a truth. Thank you very much. That concludes our microgravity discussion.